I think it's really important that when Mr. Scheer says he will show people who express intolerance the door, that he does just that. But in fact, what we've seen is that that door is really just a revolving door right back into the Conservative caucus.
There are calls, as you hear there, for Conservative leader Andrew Scheer to boot one of his MPs from caucus over the weekend. Scheer removed Michael Cooper from the Justice Committee over what Cooper had to say to a Muslim witness during a parliamentary hearing on online hate. Here is part of the controversial exchange from last week.
The evidence from Bissonnette's computer showed he repeatedly sought content about anti-immigrant, alt-right, and conservative commentators, mass murderers, U.S. President Donald Trump.
Well, Mr. Surrey, I take great umbrage with your defamatory comments to try to link conservatism with violent and extremist attacks. And let me, Mr. Chair, read into the record the statement of Brenton Tarrant, who is responsible for the Christchurch massacre. He left a 74-page manifesto in which he stated, "Conservatism is corporatism in disguise. I want no part of it. The nation with the closest political and social values to my own is the People's Republic of China," close quote. So you should be ashamed. Now, with respect...
Afterwards, Michael Cooper withdrew his comment that the witness should be ashamed. And when the story went public, Cooper apologized for reading an excerpt from a manifesto written by the Christchurch shooter. But should he be expelled from the Conservative caucus? Faisal Khan Suri is the man who testified to the House Justice Committee. He joins me now from Edmonton. Hi, Mr. Suri. Nice to see you. Thanks for making time for us.
Hey, Vash. Thanks for having me.
I just want to start off by sort of prefacing a little bit of, I want to get into your reaction and that kind of thing, but just explaining to our viewers what had happened, because you were called before. A lot of people don't know what happens in committees, but you were called before the committee to talk essentially about online hate and what generates it and what it's based on. And you had, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, been specifically referring to the Quebec mosque shooter and what might have inspired the horrifying, murderous rampage that he went on, Alexandre Bissonnette. And you used the word conservative commentators. That's what Michael Cooper picked up on, and he obviously, said what we played there to you. In that moment, what were you thinking? What was going through your mind as he reacted?
Well, thanks, Vashi. Well, honestly, I think when I just heard you replay some of Mr. Cooper's words, I had a bit of a smile on my face because, honestly, I think at that time too, I was smiling. I was kind of surprised. I didn't know really what to say to it. Very shocked just of others in the room is the fact that how Mr. Cooper took our words, misinterpreted that, and came out and gave out the reaction that we all know that came in that room that day.
And what do you think about he came back, he said he apologized. I mean, I'll get to his most current apology, but at the time he withdrew, telling you should be ashamed. What were you thinking then?
Well, I think the fact that, look, it's not about me personally. Mr. Cooper said what he said at the moment. We acknowledge his current apology that he has made in terms of reading that manifest. But the deep concerning issue that we have is that for a standing federal MP in a national standing committee to possess and then read the words of that manifest of a white extremist killer of 51 innocent people, that is deeply concerning. And it was very shocking for us at that time. And I think for the rest of Canada, it's really a surprise and a shock to us all.
He said that in response to that apology reference, he said, I quoted the words of a white supremacist anti-Muslim mass murderer in an ill-advised attempt to demonstrate that such acts are not linked to conservatism. I absolutely should not have quoted these words, nor named the perpetrator. This was a mistake. I apologize to Mr. Surrey and to all Canadians. I reiterate that I unequivocally condemn all forms of racism. Mr. Scheer announced that he removed him from the Justice Committee. He, however, still remains the Deputy Justice critic for the Conservative Party and obviously still remains within the caucus. What do you think should happen?
Well, that's a concern, Vashi. So for Mr. Scheer, we appreciate Mr. Scheer's recent statement that he's made in terms of where he says the fact that bigots and extremists and racists have no place in the Conservative Party of Canada. We definitely appreciate the words from Mr. Scheer. We just want him to deliver on this. Again, it's very unbecoming of a member of Parliament and unbecoming of any Canadian whatsoever for possessing such a document. What was Mr. Cooper doing with that document? How did he have that in his possession? Why would you have such a document in your possession? And then to review it, study it, get some lines from it in order to validate some of your points that you were trying to make that day. That's concerning. And I think that Mr. Scheer needs to do the right thing and to have Mr. Cooper not retain his position as Deputy Justice Critic and to remove from caucus. If you've been removed from the Justice Committee, which we can appreciate that, the only thing is that that committee is going to be done within 2 to 3 weeks. I just think the fact that this has to be dealt a little bit further, and we need to see Mr. Cooper removed from caucus and definitely not retain his position of Deputy Justice Critic.
Do you think it's what he did is reflective of a greater set of beliefs that he like? Do you think there's he seemed to say he made a mistake, right? And he I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but indicating that it was a one-off, it was a mistake. His intent, and he was clear on that, and it came through a bit, obviously totally misplaced in the way that he delivered it, but was that the idea of linking those kinds of actions with just conservatism in general is troubling to him. He seemed to indicate that that's the genesis of it. He made a mistake. He went too far. Do you not accept that?
Well, except the fact, like I said, we definitely acknowledge his apology. I mean, that's not the issue. We accept the fact that yes, he read that in error. The concern still remains the fact that he had the document in his possession. There was something that triggered himself to read that and to misinterpret that. If there was an issue of not understanding what our statement was, you're more than welcome to ask us. I think in the long run, to be honest, I'd be more than welcome to sit down with Mr. Scheer and any members of the Conservative Party and to have a healthy dialogue on these issues, because this is an issue that is plaguing our societies right now. We're talking about online hate and how online hate influences real life hate. That was a study, and that's a concerning part of it. And at any given time, and also recognizing Mr. Cooper's apology, we would have absolutely no issues whatsoever to at one point sort of have a dialogue and let's talk about these things. But again, the fact still remains, it's still concerning to us, even though the apology has been put in place, that it's very unbecoming of any parliament member to possess such a document and read that document itself.
Have any of them reached out to you? Did Mr. Cooper reach out to you?
No, not at all.
What are you expecting from the parties, or what are you hoping to hear from the parties as we head into an election? You're absolutely right. What you were there testifying before the committee on was the issue of online hate and how it contributes or how it prompts real hate or intersects with real hate. What are you hoping to see from the political parties on that?
Well, we expect all parties, from the Liberals, from the NDPers, from the Conservatives, from a federal level, from a provincial level, and even to a municipal level. We're all in here together to fight hate, to fight discrimination, to fight all forms of hate. We're talking about anti-Semitism, xenophobia, Islamophobia, and other forms of hate. We expect all facets of government to make sure that they're working this collectively. This is a continuous effort. This is not an effort of just having a study now. This study has to be continuous. The efforts have to remain continuous, and we have to do whatever we can to eradicate hate from our societies.
Okay, I'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Mr. Surrey. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much.
That's Faisal Khan Surrey joining us from Edmonton. And a note, we did ask to speak with Michael Cooper, Andrew Scheer, or Deputy Leader Lisa Raitt. No one was made available. Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video. Thanks for watching.